Welcome to Business Raw podcast. It's another episode, another guest, and I've got amazing guest today, Ben Price, who is former British Army military intelligence soldier who was deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan, but now actually runs his own business and helping many men to work on their mindset. Would that be correct description, Ben?
Yeah, so I'm an initiator of men. So I initiate men into leadership at home and in their business.
Fantastic. So tell me more about, I know like being in the military and then transitioning into the normal world or however you describe it. I know you had a journey during that time and, like give me a bit of background why you started what you do.
Yeah, so thanks for having me, by the way. I didn't say.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so the journey started in the military. Well, it started before the military, really. I was wanting to go traveling, went to South Africa for a little while, and worked in a school, did some volunteering, had an amazing time. Kind of came back. I think maybe before I went traveling, I tried to join the Air Force, failed the interview for the Air Force. So the army was the sort of second best, the next best option for me. And I ended up joining the military intelligence corps, intelligence corps, and yeah, deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan multiple times, 4 times in total in 8 years. So it's quite a busy time of my life. Taught me a lot and worked
Let's talk about
alongside special forces.
yeah, sorry. Let's actually talk about towards you load, because I'm so curious to find out, right? Being being, I guess, in a challenge with where you're risking your life every single day must play a big role on your mindset, right? And like I can't even imagine what it feels like being out there knowing that at any moment, right, you can be just literally just gone. And like you said, like you came to army. Of course, you do have training, but at the end of the day, you're still human being, right? So, what would you say was your biggest learning, and like try to kind of work out the whole experience for you?
I think the biggest learning is what I wrote in my book, which is Conversations with a Suicide Bomber. So I interviewed a suicide bomber in Afghanistan, and I was always intrigued as to like why somebody would do that. Like, what would it take for somebody to blow themselves up for a cause that it's not really their mission, really? Like, they've been given the mission.
Mm.
And I kind of realized quite a few years later, really, the learning was that I had also, because it's an indoctrination process to be able to get somebody to uh, be a suicide bomber. But then I sort of realized that I had also been indoctrinated.
Mm.
Okay, yeah, I didn't have a bomb on my chest, I had body armor, but I still, like you said, I was still in the war zone. And there were moments where, yeah, it was a bit sketchy, and it wasn't always like that, especially for me in my role. But there were moments, and you reflect on that, and you're like, for what? What's the reason? Like, why? I don't know everything. I don't know all of the ins and outs of why we're there. And I had a pretty good idea because I was the intelligence guy, so I kind of knew a bit more about the scenarios than everybody else. But I'd still been indoctrinated to believe that this was a good idea, and you have to. They have to, whoever they are, have to indoctrinate us to think it's a good idea to go to these places and to do what we did.
And how do you do that? Because like the analogy or the parallel I can use, right, in this type of scenario is for business owners to think whenever I recruit a team into my business, how can I make sure that they feel engaged? How can I ensure that they as passionate about my business and what I'm trying to achieve as much as I am? So what would you say is the secret?
Heavy indoctrination. um, I think
How do
so.
you
I
how
think I think the thing is like having a really strong, compelling vision is very important. And if people don't have that for themselves, they're being led by other people. Now,
Mm,
if you want to bring somebody into your vision, then it still needs to be strong and compelling, and it needs to align with their vision. And
mm,
I think it needs to align with their vision for it to be a true partnership, because otherwise they will just disappear after a while, because it's not, they don't really know why they're here, who they are, what their purpose in life is. And I know those are quite big questions, but I think it's useful to know what drives people and what really motivates them. And
mm.
if it feels aligned, because they might be a great person, and then they might come into your business and just be like a great person, but in the wrong seat and in the wrong role, and then they're not going to be happy. And worst thing is they might be good at their job.
How do you ensure, like, how do you find out the values, I guess, like if you're aligned, like from your experience in the military, what kind of things,
Yeah.
is it specific,
So
like questioning, I don't know, what kind of, I guess, tools, right, being used?
yeah. So I I don't know if I really learned that in the military. I think I learned that when I left. So when I left the military, I built a gym, and I read a book called Traction. Many times I read that book because I didn't have a clue what I was doing in business. And there was a really useful tool in there, which was like the people value analyzer or something like that. And you basically clearly, once you've clearly defined your values, which a lot of business owners haven't done, they don't know what their values are, and they certainly don't know what the business values are. So first of all, do that. And then secondly, you can kind of check in with the people you're recruiting from the very start to see if their values align. And if they don't have the value, basically don't employ them. It's kind of the rule,
Mm,
even if they're a great person, because they just won't be
mm.
happy.
I love that. It's certainly something that I'm passionate about, the values, the mission, the vision, because that's certainly how you get people engaged. That's how you talk to the mindset. I always say recruit mindset and skill set second,
Right.
mindset first, skill set second. Yeah, for very the same reason. If you want them to give you blood, sweat, and tears, support you on your mission and what you're
Mm.
trying to achieve, and not just there 9 till 5. Yeah, having that values aligned. And very interesting that you learned that also through military experience and obviously interviewing suicide bombers. People so indoctrinated that they're ready to put their life and give their life away for the sake of bigger idea, right? The bigger purpose.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's a highly manipulative way of doing things, which is unethical. Um, and I think the lesson really that I learned from that process and interviewing that guy was, if you don't have a vision of your own, you're probably you're working in someone else's, and it could cost you massively. It could cost you your life. In this case, it's cost you life. What else is there?
Absolutely. It's yeah, it's interesting, right? How one can be so engaged in someone else's vision. And also you said if you don't have vision of your own, you very quickly can be pulled into someone else's.
Yeah.
Um, so what else have you learned from being in military? There must be like humongous lessons, whether it's mindset or working as a team.
Yeah, it's do you know what? It's funny. You don't really think about it until you realize other people don't have it. I think partly, the values of the military were something called sea drills: courage, discipline, integrity, loyalty, and selfless commitment. Like I can still remember it because we used to have lessons on it, and there was a culture of those things. And for example, if you went and made a cup of tea for yourself and you didn't make it for your mates, well, you're not kind of being a good team player. So there was a bit of a joke that you were Jack. They would use this word Jack. and it was a bit of an insult. You don't want to be Jack, don't Jack on your mates, kind of thing. So I think that's something that I learned, to be a good team player, to be considerate to other people, to hold, to live truly, to live by values.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important. Um, I think it did teach me discipline and structure as well. I'm not, I've never actually, people look at me and they hear what I've done and they think, oh, he must be really disciplined and really structured. And I still have to work on it. And I have designed like a journal that I use, which is this journal here. I designed this for me to help me with my structure, and I give it to all of my clients as well. Um, so that's been very useful. And I guess again, you just don't realize it. So integrity is probably the biggest thing that I've noticed, is that it's very unusual for a military person to not have integrity. It does happen,
Mm.
obviously, but it's more common for a non-military person to lack integrity and to do things which are questionable. Um,
Mm.
and
So it's really interesting. So like being in the army, it's not just the drills, the practical aspect of it. Like you said, we had lessons on it. So you had lessons on values, the mission, the discipline. So you had a mindset training as well as technical training, right?
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was the job of the padre when we were in basic training.
How often did you have it? Was it like each day, each week?
Oh, I think it was like weekly, maybe a couple of times a week. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was regular. And then there's the culture of like being with those people all the time. So you're indoctrinated, right? You're
Mhm.
indoctrinated.
And then I guess if you don't demonstrate the value, or you've done something where you didn't live by the value, you will get pulled in it. Like you said, don't be a jack.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, don't be Jack. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that because it's interesting. Like when I work with clients as well, once we establish the business owner's values and, like generally company values, is then how do you make sure that you create a culture of it in your
Mm,
team, in your
yeah.
business? And, it's not just fancy words, somewhere on a website and, you've done it once and everyone forgot about it.
Hmm.
You're making it living and breathing mechanism in your business. And yeah, having regular mindset trainings definitely is the key. And yeah, I didn't actually realize it's the same applies in military. But of course, when you are deployed for, I guess, such a dangerous job, you have to talk to the mindset, isn't it? There is no point of becoming the best soldier you can be in terms of technical aspects if your mindset is not there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I mean that's kind of dangerous as well. Is if you just train somebody to be an amazing soldier, but they've got their values, well, they could end up causing some pretty horrific atrocities. And so what I do now is I initiate men into I initiate men into their power, really. So initiation is something that's been around for thousands and thousands of years, and in a sense the military is a kind of initiation when you go through basic training and you get taught these things, and you get taught values. It's a kind of initiation, but it's not the whole thing. It's just part of, they do the sort of bare minimum, I guess, to make sure you don't go absolutely crazy, and let the power go to your head. Because you're being trusted with a weapon and you're being trusted with other
Mm.
people's lives, and so there is power. And if you're, and most men, because they're uninitiated, they, our psyche is that we go to these places of either tyrant or weakling. Usually it's tyrant, or it's just immaturity. And if we've never crossed over from boyhood to manhood, then we're stuck in this immature, bit jokey, bit jovial, bit like nothing really matters. So that's one kind of type of man who has not been initiated. I said it to one of my clients the other day. I said, look, you need to stop being a jester. Stop being a jester. Don't show up here like a jester. Like, he basically showed up and said everyone could laugh at him. And I was like, why would you do that? You know, we don't know anything about you, and you've just told us we can laugh at you. That's it's a strange thing to do. And then the other kind of man is a weak man. So he's avoiding decisions that he needs to make. And then the other type of man, probably what we're more familiar with, is the tyrant. So the tyrant is the one who is a tyrant. He is, you know, angry, frustrated a lot of the time. And none of those men are broken. They're just uninitiated.
And you know, when you say initiated by someone or by something?
A bit of both, really. Yeah, by a process. Usually, traditionally, it would have been elders. We'd have had elders who were like the wise men of our tribe, and women, and they would initiate the younger men. And there would be some female equivalent they would initiate. So yeah, and there'd be experiences that we go through, trials, you know, crucibles, I call them crucible events, where you're tested to see if you're going to hold your values in a stressful situation.
So would you say, like in modern world, it will be like maybe your dad or some male figure in your life? Is
Well, it
that
just
will
doesn't
be the
happen. It just doesn't happen because our dads are also uninitiated. Our fathers are uninitiated. You know, this got abandoned. I'd say probably 100 to maybe couple of 100 years ago. We abandoned initiation as civilization kind of came about. I think World War II had a big part to play as well. Probably more. That was a big, because a lot of the men got killed or traumatized, and that's still being passed down through our generations. And we
in
got
what way?
detached.
In what way that, like, you would have thought that the war, it will be quite opposite, right? Will have opposite effect. Will initiate, will make you being protector, masculine, all those kind of qualities. So how did
Yeah.
it affect it in other way?
Yeah. So shut up and get on with it. That basically came from World War II. Like, basically screw your emotions. Don't pay attention to them, and just get on with it. Your emotions don't matter. And it sort of served the purpose, but it's not really a healthy state for a man to be in, to ignore all of his emotions, because he is an emotional being, and he knows he is, because he has times where he is depressed, anxious, frustrated. Those are emotions, sad. But and we try to because we don't know how to cope with that, we distract with porn, sex, phones, drugs, alcohol, games. Games is another thing. We level up in games and we don't level up in real life. And all of that is numbing. All of that is numbing. And obviously, the more that tech, people blame tech. Well, tech's doing what tech does. It gets better and it accelerates, and it gets more power. So then, we just use it more because it's more available, and yeah, it's more addictive. But we've been numbing for a while.
And I know, like, now in terms of what you do, that's became your life mission, right? To be able to help men to use the term being initiated, right? To
Yeah,
provide them space for their feelings, to actually understand I do have those feelings and what they are. And, like, I guess it's back to basics, like be able to label them first.
yeah, and understand that you're not broken, and you act the way you act because of you're uninitiated, basically, or you've never been taught about this thing. Most men, I genuinely believe that a lot of men think they're broken. They think there's something wrong with them, and there really isn't. It's just a lack of a lack of understanding. And it's not so. Even if you understand it, you still need to be initiated and to live it, be able to live it. Yeah.
So how did you, I guess, how did you came to work this all out and
Yeah.
make it your mission?
So kind of comes back to the story. So I was in the military. I had lots of injuries in my body, physical injuries, not through anything dramatic, really, just military training and sitting at a desk combined, poor posture. So I started to learn about my body. I started to understand how to manage this body I'm in and to sort out some of these injuries. I started helping some of my mates. And then I decided to go and be a personal trainer when I left the military. And then I built a gym. And it went really well, the gym, for a while. And I helped a lot of people, and I started to see patterns. And some of the patterns I saw were people would come into the gym and they would tell me that they're not fitness people, and they're not fitness people, but they want to get fit. And I was like, well, it was interesting to start with. And I was like, well, it's really difficult if you are going to stick at this forever to not be a fitness person and try and stick at it, because it's an identity thing. It was an identity level. And so I started to understand people's identity, like, oh, I'm a drinker, I'm a party animal, I don't know, I'm terrible with this thing. And people would create themselves, and they would identify with these things, and that's their ego. And the ego is basically our identity in a sense. And the ego is neither good or bad. It's just the ego. It's just the identity. And so that was really interesting. And then the gym started to not go so well, and I kept trying to like get the latest guru to help me and the next marketing agency, and I was spending so much money, and I got myself into debt. And I started to associate with the failure of my business, like because my business was starting to fail, I was a failure. And I ended up working with this phenomenal coach who was unlike anybody I'd ever worked with, and he really helped me understand this in a lot of detail. And he was the one who kind of initiated me, and he helped me understand my shadows, like why I end up in the weak king or the tyrant. I believe that every man has an inner king. And so when the king is fully expressed, you're in your leadership, you're grounded, you're calm, you can provide direction. But when you're in your shadow, you're weak. And you're tyrant, or you're immature, you're kind of a prince. And so I was somewhere between weak, tyrant, flitting in between the two. And I was dealing with this very stressful situation, which was the gym was failing. I was trying to sell it, and there were some buyers who were doing something which was a bit foul play. They were trying to get my lease without having a deal on the business, basically, and it was really stressful. And I almost lost my house because of it. It was really only because of my coach, whose name is Sanika. He helped me step into my king and have some really uncomfortable conversations that I needed to have, and make some really big commitments that I needed to make. And so I made those commitments. It was mainly to my landlord to say that I was going to pay him back. And I did it. I paid him back. And I managed to sell the gym, not to the group who were doing foul play, but to a group of current members who bought it for not very much money, but they got me out of debt, basically. And I started afresh. And so that's kind of how I learned it all. And then I started working one-to-one with people. First it was mindset coaching. Then now it's morphed into, actually, it's initiation. I'm not a coach as such. I'm an initiator. And coaching's just a tool that I use for initiation. There's other tools as well, like getting men out into the wild, camping, challenging situations, and it's really fun.
So let's say, yeah, no, I know it looks fun. I've seen your pictures and videos, and I would love to be part of that as well. But I know it's men's circle, um, and so I'm just thinking about the listeners and the viewers right now, and those men who can really resonate with what you're stating, and maybe you've seen some of them in what you're describing and thinking, actually, you know what, I think you're right. I need to come out from this loop of me being, like you said, in those different roles, and maybe I'm avoiding something and I want to step up, I want to be initiated.
Yeah.
What will be the best way, I guess, for them to do that?
It's a good question. I mean, the best way is to start talking to me about it, and I'm not saying that because I want to take your money. I'm just saying that because I want to provide the direction and the uplift for as many men as possible. And why is it important? Because, well, most of us are looking for the next tactic, like I was in my business. Like, what's the next tactic? What's the next marketing trick? What's the next sales course I need to go on? I need to get better at this. I need to get better at that. Oh, I better get better at structuring my business. Like, all of that stuff you probably already know, and you're just procrastinating.
So
And
it's
the
more about
ultimate,
taking action.
it's about, yeah, to start with, it is, yeah. So there's 4 stages to the initiation. The first stage is to get your inner warrior online. So there's a concept there's a book called King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. And it's a great book. That would be a good place to start as well. You've got to get your warrior online first. The warrior is the part of us that gets shit done. The warrior is the part of us that is disciplined. The warrior is the part of us that executes stuff. And if you can't do that, you can't do any of the other. You can't lead. You can't like be emotionally mature. Like, you can't do anything unless you're actually getting stuff done to start with. The next step is the magician, getting the magician online. The magician's kind of our problem solver, and he's the one who will. The shadow of the magician is the manipulator. So if we don't get the magician online and true, then we end up with power, but then we're manipulating, or just avoiding it altogether.
Mm.
And then the third stage is the lover. So the lover is our emotionally mature, emotional intelligence, being understanding that we have a feminine side as well as a masculine side. We're not just all masculine, and it's okay. If you want to be a man, you need to be both masculine and feminine. You need to understand that. And that will enable us to relate and lead teams better and lead people better. And then the final
What do
gate
you
is the
mean?
king.
What do you mean by like feminine in a man? Like, because
Mm.
obviously the association with feminine in a man will be, in general perception will be maybe not quite positive. So
Yeah.
can you enlighten us a little bit more? Why is that important for man to have that feminine?
Oh, women experience the world in a completely different way to men because they're more feminine and less masculine, generally speaking. Obviously, there's exceptions. And men are more masculine and less feminine. But we've sort of demonized the feminine part of us. Like, it's not manly to be nurturing, for example. Nurturing is a feminine energy. Loving, like, loving is kind of a feminine energy. It's not exclusive to men or women. It's relevant to both, and so is nurturing. It's more feminine, but it's not unmanly to be able to do that thing. If that makes sense.
Mm.
I mean, for me, there was so many silly little things that I had been indoctrinated with throughout my life, like things that my mum did. I just assumed were the feminine thing, like doing the dishes. I was like, once I sort of realized this, I was just like, this is ridiculous. Some of the things that I think are feminine are just not feminine at all. They're just because my mum did them, and I
Mm.
therefore I subconsciously wouldn't do them.
That's interesting, isn't it? How we give gender to certain
Yeah,
tasks in our lives.
tasks, emotions, activities. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really
and
funny
it's
when you
all,
read it.
for me personally also it's interesting how we as a woman identifying ourselves with feminine, and when we form partnership, we take that role, right? And usually, again, we stereotypical, kind of labeling things here, but usually a woman will cook, clean,
Yeah.
right, look after the house. And then man probably less likely will be doing those things or contributing as much as it will be her responsibility. But then one thing I always keep thinking, before you met with your partner, somehow they live by themselves, right? So somehow they were doing all these things without you, and they
Yeah,
managed fine, right? And
yeah.
like it wasn't seen, or like, so how come all of a sudden you think it's just your responsibility, or they're not capable? They're fully capable, but of course, sometimes if someone does it for you, you accept
Yeah.
it gracefully.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are things. There are again, like we said, we're generalizing. It's not. It's not because some women are more masculine, and some men are more feminine, and that's actually fine. By the way, you know, nothing wrong with it. They could be in a relationship, and the typical roles that the masculine might do might be the things that the woman does, and the typical roles that the feminine does might be the thing the man does. Like it doesn't matter as long as everyone's it works with our physiology and it works with our how we live. And the reason I say it works with our physiology, I mean like biology, is because if a woman is doing something which is traditionally masculine, it produces a chemical in her body which is testosterone, and testosterone is not great for women, most women, but it is quite good for men. So I'm just going to be really stereotypical and say chopping wood. Most women don't get a kick out of chopping wood, but most men do. And the kick is it's a testosterone building activity like wrestling and like um, hunting. You know, yes, there's some women who do it, but generally speaking, there's a reason that most men fulfill that role. It's because it's kind of testosterone. Now, nurturing children produces estrogen, which is not actually great for a man to do all of the time, but we can do it, and it's not. But it's good. It's great for a woman. Like estrogen in a woman is great. Like, it's good for your body. So yeah, it's quite
It,
interesting.
it is interesting, and straight away I can really relate to my children. Like I've got two boys, and when they obviously playing or growing up, if you go to the
Yeah,
woods, boys and the sticks, and I'm sure every mom
it's
can relate,
yeah,
or someone who has boys, right? Like the amount of sticks we bring back home, it's incredible. They're all important, and we have to keep them, and they will know which one went missing.
yeah,
Whereas obviously girls, they won't be interested in that. They might be going to pick up flowers, right? And yeah, we'll be kind of demonstrating the more nurturing side.
yeah.
Um, and
And that
yeah,
gets
like.
repressed. It gets repressed in most men. It's in there, but then like society says it's not okay to pick flowers as a man.
Mm,
Really?
mm, mm. So would you then like suggest or recommend for men to tune in into their feminine and explore what that is in them and maybe practice it?
Yes, absolutely. And why? Well, if you're a business owner and maybe you're a father, like if you're a man and you just want to experience the fullness of life, then you definitely want both the masculine and the feminine parts of you integrated. But if you're a leader, you're going to be more emotionally intelligent. You're going to be able to sell better. Like that's how it would translate because you're more emotionally intelligent. You're able to sell better, and you're able to manage your team better. Yeah,
So there are great advantages in like
there's
like I
no
said, being
yeah.
emotional, understand emotions.
Obviously, the resistance is our ego. So our ego is being a certain way for a certain amount of time, and it doesn't like change. It feels threatening. So if you're self-aware, you'll feel the threat, and even me speaking now might threaten someone. Like if you're being triggered, that's the threat to your ego. That's what it is. Some people are
So,
terrified when they speak to me.
oh, really?
Oh my god, yeah. Like not because I'm
Yeah.
a scary guy, but because like they know they need to do the work, and they know they're
Mm,
avoiding it, and they're like, "I'll do it. maybe in 6 months. I really want to work with you, but in 6 months. And I'm like, don't kid yourself. Like, just say you're not going to do it. If you're not going to do it, it's fine. But, you know, I feel really, it's been so powerful for me that obviously I'm enthusiastic about it and I want everyone to experience the fullness of life. Why wouldn't, for me, I'm like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you?
I love that fullness of life. And that comes, like you said, from all aspects, right? Not just like from ego and what you got used to and your repetitive you. There is more to that, right? That we
Yeah.
haven't explored or haven't tuned in to experience more.
And it's a mountain with no top is one of the phrases I heard, which I really like. Is like you're always going to learn more. I'm always learning more about myself. And there's another thing. I can't remember what the condition is, but the more you know about something, the more you realize you don't know, and therefore the more the imposter syndrome increases. So I know how much I don't know about initiation, but I also, and therefore sometimes I feel imposter. But I know a lot, and it's the same. It's the same about like even me saying the fullness of life. Who am I to know what the actual fullness of life is? I'm still learning it. I'm still figuring it out too. But I know I'm living a lot more fuller than I was 2 years ago when I was trying to sell that gym and waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning with dread in my stomach and getting back at 7 p.m. having a stressful day. Like that wasn't life. I wasn't living. I was just going through motions and surviving. It was awful.
So what would you say was the biggest change for you from that experience to what it is now?
What was the biggest change? Biggest change is it's just I think everything I've said. It's just understanding. I know. Okay, it's understanding the answer to the question: who are you and why are you here?
I love that. So if you're listening, watching us right now, I think that's amazing question to ask yourself, right? Like
It's the only
pause,
question. Yeah.
take pen and paper, give
Yeah.
yourself quiet 5 minutes time,
And
take
if
time
you
to think.
would you find it useful to know my answer to that?
Oh, yes, please.
So this has taken me 2 years to figure out. And
Okay,
again,
so no minutes, not enough.
2 minutes is not enough. No, but it's a good start. And I think as you hear me say it, then you might be like, oh yeah. And some of you are going to be triggered again. You're going to be like, oh, who does this guy think he is? Because most of us are doing this in a way which is like self-deprecating. We're always doing what I'm about to do. We always do, but I'm just doing it consciously. So anyway, without further ado, so I am loved, loving, and joyful. I
Hmm.
am deeply in love, loyal, and connected to Eleanor Jane Smee, and we are fantastic parents. I am a world-class listener and communicator, especially of Eleanor Jane Smee. I am disciplined, calm, grounded, efficient, focused, capable, and I am passionate, open minded, playful, and I'm light. I am a powerful, confident speaker, and I always create with my words, my thoughts, my actions. I am that I always prioritize my health, my fitness, my nutrition, my meditation, my sleep, and my healthy eating. I am incredibly grateful for the presence of my son, and I am a capable father. I'm a capable, confident, competent father. I am an advocate for world peace. I am a philanthropist, and I live in abundance, and I am completely unattached to outcome. I am attractive, and I always attract the right person at the right time. And right now, Julia, that's you, and everyone who's listening. I am that everything happens for a reason, and I always find the reason. I am an adventurous person. I am a man. I am a king, a warrior, a magician, a lover. I'm a man in his fullness. And I am here to raise good men. I am here to uplift as many men as possible and to prevent male suicide. I am here to protect the the planet and the animals in the planet. And my parents named me Ben, and Benjamin means son of the right hand, trusted man, and uplifter of others.
Mm. Wow, can I give you a round of applause? That's amazing.
Yeah.
So much clarity, right? So much clarity in everything you just described. And like you said, having that identity clearly defined for yourself and knowing who you are just makes life and living so much easier.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it makes it easier, but it definitely yeah, I think it does make it easier. It makes it more enjoyable, and there's still challenges. Like literally, yesterday I had a conversation. We had an argument. Me and my other half had an argument. It's not like I'm not without challenges. And I was up last night with my son, like from 1 a.m. in the morning. So this conversation's given me a lot of energy, actually. Thanks. So yeah, so it's not without its challenges, but it definitely, I don't know, you have something to fall back on. So when you're having your self doubt, you're like, oh yeah, who am I? This is who I am. It's like, this is how I live. This is who I am. And it's a reminder, so it's a homecoming
Exactly.
to who you really are. Yeah.
It's like you stated, like even though you had an argument with your partner, you were up, you are still an amazing partner, you're still present, you're still good listener to her, you're present father, right? Yeah, it's kind of like reminding yourself of all those things in tough times makes you want to be in that energy, in that identity, and step up and be better.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah, that's very powerful. I think what you just described and like how you stated it, just like that, absolutely amazing. And yeah, like I didn't mean it gets easy. It's not like life is just sugar clouds,
No.
but it makes it easier to navigate.
Yeah, I feel more grounded. And lots
Mm,
of people say that to me now. They're like, "Oh, you're really grounded, soothing to listen to, soothing to
mm.
talk to." People say that about me now. They wouldn't have said that to me 2 years ago.
Well, that's amazing external feedback because, obviously that feedback is coming from people without you asking or seeking, that's just like a
Mm.
great confirmation, isn't it, of who you are. And also I love your mission, right? You said your mission is to prevent male suicide,
Yeah.
which obviously it's a huge number right now, like it's one of the stats that's, quite scary and, rising up. And I think what you do and your message is certainly much needed. And then it's the irony as well, which you told me before we started this podcast, and hopefully I can share this, that you've got already a boy, right? You've got a son,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
you're expecting the second one.
Yeah.
So you've
Yeah.
got two boys to raise and bring
Yes.
into this life. So you will have first-hand experience, right,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
of bringing up, nurturing man, like in full capacity, and literally just apply everything that you teach
Yeah.
in you know in everything.
I'm sure I won't be, perfect at it either, but I'm really, really glad that I've done the work, the work that I've done, and I get to kind of break the generational chain of a bit depression really in my family, if I'm honest. It kind of runs in the family. And I feel like the work I'm doing will break the chain. I won't pass it on to my son because our nervous systems are copies of our fathers as men. So it's just a
I love
copy.
that. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And like to me, what you just stated now, it's like another identity, right? I am generational change leader.
True. Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I hadn't even
Um,
thought of that. But yeah.
and it's a huge responsibility, right? It's quite empowering in a way as well. That,
Yeah.
you are the one in the family who will put stop or will change the direction
Yeah.
of,
Yeah. And I think
like
it
you
has
said.
an effect. Yeah. It has an effect up the chain as well. So I think there is changes that happen. It's hard to know whether it's just me who's changed or whether I'm having that because I've changed. I've had an impact on those around me. If that makes sense. Yeah.
I have it's I think it's fascinating if you're listening to this right now or watching us and you haven't appointed yourself a role in your generation. I would urge you to take time to think, what can you add or bring to your generations to come, right? What enabler are you? What are you stopping? What are you changing? How do you want to be remembered? Because life is literally just can be gone like this, right? We know how precious it is. And what I've encountered, once you're gone, that's it. You're not going to be remembered for much, right? All of your possessions will be gone, and like all what will be left of you is memories. But for me personally, if I can create a change in my generation, that's what I want to be remembered by. For me personally, I will share. Would you like me to share what my generational
Yeah.
role is that I've put myself? So my one relating to finances. So I want to be creating generational wealth.
Yeah.
And the way I see myself, it's like being that aunt or great grandma that changed the generations and created the financial stability, and I guess wealth for everyone then to benefit down the line, and nourish it and cherish it and add and grow, and like, so everyone who comes in that like line can benefit from it. Yeah, that's like, yeah, that's the vision I'm having of myself. Once I'm gone, there will be my whatever, ancestors, whoever comes, my kids of kids, whatever, drinking cup of tea and saying, oh yeah, the Aunt Julia, she's the one who is in our family, did this and that, and that's why we're sitting here. And
Yeah.
I
And
really think,
can I ask, why is that so important to you?
yes, because coming from communist background, right? So I grew up in communist until age 13, where making money was forbidden by law, and
Wow.
I guess also experiencing struggles, right, through not lack of finance, and also be limited by your life choices because of finance. It really makes me think or realize that having wealth gives you so much options and choices and freedom. It's not just money, it's about what money can give to you. And yeah, I think for me, that's what is important, because there is so much also struggles and depression and negative things attached to money, and lack of it. And I think that's what I want to stop, in my generation. So whoever comes to my generation, they will have choices to make, informed choices, and they can live their life to the full, and they can experience it to the full, but also not just for themselves. I want them to go and create something for others, because I think once you close your financial needs, you've got that space available to you to go and create something for someone.
Mm.
It's that analogy, put oxygen mask on yourself first and then go and help someone. So yeah, for me it's that, if I can put oxygen mask first on generation to come, so they don't have to think about that and just think how I can enhance that world. For me, it's like my mission is get passed on further down the line.
And yeah, and do you ever, or have you had done any work on like your identity around money? Because I imagine you've been given an identity as you were growing up that money's bad or something like that.
Oh, absolutely. I've been working on my money mindset for the last 10 years
Oh, yeah.
in many, many ways, in many different ways. Even hypnotherapy, obviously affirmations, courses, books, podcasts.
Mm.
For example, even each year I set myself intentions. And for example, in the past, the intention was for me to create a circle of girlfriends where we talk money. They are investors. They understand how to invest. They buy
Mm.
stocks and shares, and our conversations is around that rather than just typical girly chats, makeups and I don't know, whatever we talk about. So I wanted that, and like you said, I am the magnet and what I'm attracting to my life. So I have attracted that. I signed up for the course. It was run by a girl, and obviously, naturally, she attracted lots of girls. And then we formed like a community, and we kept in touch. And like
Cool.
I still friends with those girls. And I thought, oh wow, I've done that. That's amazing. And then after that, I thought, okay, so what's my next target? Because you know yourself that you are an average of people, 5 people that surrounding you. So for me,
Mm.
it was very important to understand who I'm surrounded by. So then I thought, okay, I want to be surrounded by other women entrepreneurs who've got business million plus. And that was my specific request, or, kind of achieve that success. And again, I've managed to do that. Like I came across a few female entrepreneurs who are very successful, got a number of businesses, and yeah, it's for me constant work. Actually, it just never stops because
Mm.
it's interesting because I'm thinking, oh yeah, I kind of like remove all my limiting beliefs. I've got this identity, and like I accept money and understand money and all those kind of things. In fact, I do lots of money mindset with my clients as well. But then something else will crop up, like something little that you think, oh, I never thought like that
Yeah.
that will be an issue. And for example, one of the latest one for me that you have to work hard for money,
Hmm. Nice.
right? You have to slog, you have to like in order to get big money, you need to like proper, just like blood, sweat and tears.
Yeah.
Yeah, waking up early in the morning, go to bed late at night. And of course that's all comes from my generations because that's how was my grandparents, that's how was my dad. My dad taught me work ethics, which I'm grateful for, and absolutely it's important to have them. Have to be in that constant mode of, in order for money to come into my world, I have to slug away or, like work really hard. It's also limiting belief.
Yeah. I actually did a workshop on this not too long ago. And my as I we teach the thing we need the most. Have you heard
Mm.
that? So it was good teaching that workshop because I got to look at my own money story, and I realized that not only did I have a money story, I had a maths story, I had a numbers story. So when I grew up, money did not grow on trees, and we were not made of money. And not only that, I I wasn't very good at maths. So my parents would, they were trying to do the best thing they could. But I don't think it was very useful. But we used to do after dinner maths clubs, and it was so stressful. It was horrible. So I just had like this trauma around numbers and money, and I just like didn't want to deal with numbers. And yeah, so it was quite good. As I was doing that workshop, I was like, this is what I realized about who I am. Like the I am statements. I am that money doesn't grow on trees. I am that I'm not made of money. And like you said, you have to work hard for money, and money is hard to come by. And well, yeah. And the thing about this is, if you're listening, look around your room now and see what's red in the room. So have a look, Julia. See what's red in your room. Okay, or in my office. Yeah. Okay, close your eyes, and now tell me everything that's blue.
Mm.
You probably didn't see it, right? Because you were looking for the red. So, and the point is, we see the world through the lens that is, first of all, was created for us. So money doesn't grow on trees, or you have to work hard for money. It's like someone saying, look for the red. You only see the red. You only see how money doesn't grow on trees. You only see how it's hard to come by. And you only see, yeah, just how difficult it is to create money. And it's the same with everything, but particularly true with money. I think it's particularly true with everything,
Mm.
So you
Yeah,
can't
the
see the
thing
blue,
is,
can't see the
yeah,
opportunity.
what you focus on expands, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason that
Mm.
our brains have to do that is because there is so much information. Like, there is so much information in front of me right now. Like, I could go and focus over to my left here, and there's a tree, and I could look at that tree and just look at and really detail all the stuff on the tree. But I haven't got. I'm doing a podcast with Julia. I can't go and look at this tree. I've got to filter that out. So I'm filtering that out. I'm filtering this out. I'm filtering the mess out that's on my desk. And I'm just looking at Julia, and that's what my filter is right now. And I'm just thinking about what I'm going to talk about in this podcast.
Mm.
You have to. You
Absolutely.
have
Yeah,
to think.
yeah, what you focus on expands. And yeah, something that I am a big believer and also um, preaching. And it's interesting you said about identity. I'm not good with math. It was my story. And even if you heard me on other podcasts as a guest, my story goes, I like to develop my weaknesses. I never was good with math, so I got a job in a bank,
Nice.
which I did, and then ended up working in a bank, got nothing to do with numbers, ended up being a corporate trainer where you just talk to people.
You end up being a coach, basically. What you're
Yes,
good
yes.
at.
But then actually then once I've exited that world and started my own business, that still was ingrained in me, thinking I'm not good with money. So I was in partnership in my whatever, like in one of my latest businesses.
Mm,
And in that partnership, we just split the role. So I said, I'm not good with money, you're good with money, so that's your responsibility. So I kind of like
yeah.
passed it on. But then I think throughout my journey, I thought, hold on a second, why I've got this narrative, I'm not good with money, whereas actually I'm creating financial statements, I'm creating cash flow, I'm creating, predictability of profit, I'm closing the sales, I am coming up with ideas, and I'm thinking that doesn't actually stack up.
That's not true.
That I'm, yeah, that's not. And I thought that's just my narrative I'm feeding to myself, and I'm chosen to believe to. And in business, you don't need to do hard equations of math, right? It's very, very simple, plus and minus, and that's if you can add up and
Yeah,
extract. That's all what you need, right? And divide.
true.
Very, very simple. So yes, I stopped feeding that narrative to myself, and my obviously my narrative is now I'm excellent with money. I'm good with math. I know how to manage numbers. All those kind of things because yeah, it's just like old story
Mm,
that I picked up from childhood, like you said, at school. Um, so that's been very fruitful conversation, I think, Ben, today.
yeah.
We touched
Right.
on feminine, we touched about suicide bombers, the army, the values, the mission, the money mindset. Like, I think
Yeah.
it's so packed with things. And number one, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your experiences, your knowledge, your presence. I think it is important that we do promote feminine emotions and give space for man to learn that it's okay and it's accepted. It's in fact much needed. So I wish you every single success in spreading that message and giving that platform like as much space as possible.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, and I also ask all of my guests as a final question before we close down. If you have to give advice, younger version of yourself now, what that would be?
Do you know what? I did a father-son coaching session the other day.
Mm,
He, basically my client brought along his 15-year-old son, and it was so good. I really, really enjoyed it because I got to teach him all the stuff I wish I learned as a young man. Um, you're not broken. You're not broken. You're under led, and you don't need fixing.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. And for people who would like to reach out to you and want to maybe even book session with you or get your book, what will be the best way to do that?
So I don't work with everyone. We're the kind of people that I work with have to be really ready to look at who they are, why they're here, look at their ego, prepare for it to be torn apart and rebuilt in a more useful way, which is really uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable. So that's why it's not for everyone. But if you want to step into an initiation, the first thing is to apply on my website. And you can get to my website through my social media channels, so at Coach Ben Price. I also have a podcast, which is the Ben Price Experience. It's like the Joe Rogan Experience, but better. And on my website, you can download the book. And it would be good to read the book or listen to the book before you speak to me. So the book is called Conversations with a Suicide Bomber, and it's about winning the war in your mind and finding the peace that most men avoid.
Mm, fantastic. Thank you so much, Ben.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for being amazing guest.
Thank you for having me. Cheers, Julia.